welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about expansion teams. What is an expansion team? It's when a league gets too big for its britches and it needs to expand to more cities. It needs more teams. It needs more games because there's money to be made. There are tickets to sell. There are streaming rights to sell. They need to make money. Well, the NBA is getting to that point. People love basketball. Basketball is getting really popular. You have the NBL in Australia. You have the Euroleague in Europe, obviously. You have the CBA in China. People want to watch basketball. There's even Africa Basketball League, or Basketball Africa League is what it's called, actually owned by the NBA. People are getting more interested in this stuff. People are getting more into other leagues because there's not enough NBA basketball, believe it or not. So the NBA obviously wants to make more money. They want more teams. They want more games. But do the NBA owners want new teams in the league? Well, they do. Because if a new team comes into the league, they owe an expansion fee. An expansion fee is probably going to be $2.5 billion, which is the average cost of an NBA team, or the evaluation of an NBA team. They want this big chunk of money because they lost tons of money during the pandemic years. They lost a lot of hot dog sales that they couldn't sell $10 hot dogs. They couldn't sell $30 Bud Lights. So they need that money back and they want it now. But the thing is, they kind of lose a little bit of money because if they add 2 new expansion teams, now they are dividing up that revenue share between 32 teams rather than 30. But the thing is, those teams are going to generate loads of money. So it won't even matter when they divide it up by 32, all that revenue sharing, it's going to be about the same, possibly even more, because the markets that are going to be getting these new teams are pretty lucrative. They're going to make a lot of money, and there's a case to be made for both of them. Also, the NBA has the largest postseason of any of the major sports leagues. They have 16 teams in the playoffs, which now is actually more than half the league. And with the play-in, they're going to have 20 teams. You have 20 teams in the postseason. That's a lot. That's almost like too much, if you ask me. It's almost too many teams. So if they add 32, no one's going to even know the difference. You still have half the teams are in the playoffs, which is unheard of in any other sport. The first team that is most likely going to be added is the Seattle Supersonics. Yes, the Seattle Supersonics were already a team, but now they are in Oklahoma City and they are called the Thunder because the city of Seattle refused to build them a new stadium. So they left and they went to OKC. Seattle fans have been yearning for a team ever since. So if they add a new team in Seattle, there's already fans there. There are people that are fans of a team that doesn't even exist anymore. So if you just plug the Seattle Supersonics, a new franchise called the Seattle Supersonics, back in there, you're going to have fans already built in. People want to watch basketball in Seattle. Plus, there's already a stadium there. There's the Climate Arena or something like that. What is it called? The Climate Pledge Arena is already there. That's where the Kraken play. That's where the new expansion NHL team for Seattle plays. It's going to happen. There's no way that it's not going to happen. The other team is Las Vegas. Las Vegas is going to get a team. There's already tons of sports franchises in Las Vegas. You have the Golden Knights. That's their hockey team. Another expansion. You have the Aces, an expansion. Most teams are expansions if you think about it. Most teams have gotten added to the league. Most teams are not original teams in whatever league they're in. You also have the Raiders. The Raiders were in Oakland. I think that before that they were in Los Angeles, and they're now in Las Vegas. So even though a lot of people aren't big fans of Las Vegas teams, you don't think they're going to have a huge fan base, people are going to come from far and wide to watch their team play whatever the Las Vegas team is in Las Vegas. They're going to make it part of their vacation. It's going to make lots of money. You can also gamble in Las Vegas, and you can gamble very easily. Every hotel has a sports book, so that's going to be very lucrative. Also, LeBron James wants to start the team in Vegas. So LeBron kind of gets what he wants usually, or at least gets the man that he wants. He may not get a championship every year, but he comes pretty damn close to getting there, except for this year. Neither here nor there. Anyway, let's take a look at the Las Vegas Venom, I believe is what they're going to be called, potentially. Here's a couple cool logos. I think it looks really rad. I think I would support this team just based on the aesthetic alone. I'm hyped for it. I hope it exists. I'm sure a team is coming to Vegas and Seattle. I don't think there's any other markets that are even close to getting the amount of support that those two are. All right, let's get into the important part, the expansion draft. How does an expansion work? Do you just get a bunch of new players? You just sign a bunch of free agents and have to hope for the best? No. Here's what happens. Every team is allowed to protect 8 players on their roster and say, hey, these are our guys. No one can take them. The rest of the players in the league, now they are available for the expansion team to just take, to straight up take their contract. I think that's pretty interesting. 8 seems like a lot to me. I feel like you're getting some really bottom of the roster players if you're protecting a total of 8 players. It seems like a ton. But the expansion team can only pick 1 from each team. You can't pick 2 from a particular team. So you get to pick, oh, I want this guy from that team, this guy from that team, this guy from that team. And then you assemble a roster that way. It's got to be a pretty weak team. But the thing is, the expansion team can also participate in free agency. So they can sign free agents all they want. Also, in the expansion draft, they don't have to worry about the salary cap. They can select whatever guys they want. But truth is, they're not going to have a huge payroll because if a guy's at the very end of the bench, bench, he's probably not getting paid a lot. He's going to be at the very end of the bench if he's not protected by that team. Or it's going to be a guy who's way overpaid and they're trying to get rid of, and chances are teams aren't going to pick a guy that they have to pay a lot of money and is overpaid and is not very good. So you may leave a guy unprotected and say, hey, maybe take our Russell Westbrook, for example. No one's going to pick him up. No one wants to pay this guy, whatever, $49 million for the year. I feel bad. I just shit on Russell Westbrook all the time, but I don't feel bad. I don't know. I'm a pretty positive person, but he's a good example of an overplayed player at this point. The expansion team also gets a draft pick that year. How do they decide what draft pick they get? Since they weren't involved in the previous season, the commissioner decides. How does he decide? No one knows. There is no way to find that out, but it's usually a pretty high pick. I believe the Bobcats, when they joined in 2004, I believe they got the 4th round pick, which is pretty good, but I think they actually traded it away and got the 2nd pick, if I remember correctly. Go look it up for yourself. That's not what this is about. That's how it works. I'm really excited to maybe get a team in Vegas. I think that would be really fun. I just want more basketball. I think 32 is a way better number than 30, to be honest. Be good to your mothers. Thank you for being here. Much love. Yeah.